Nothing illustrates the brilliance of nature's imagination better than a tropical garden. Only in the tropics does one find such sensual beauty, pleasing all of our senses. The feel of the soft velvety air, the sound of the tropical birds and insects, and the pungent scent of exotic flowers. Brilliant colors that dazzle the eye.
In the tropics, everything about nature seems more exaggerated. Bigger foliage, faster growth, brighter flowers. Yet the cycle of life is the same as anywhere. Birth, life, death, decay. One leading into and nourishing the other. While a prized bloom to the gardener is nothing more than a seed factory to nature, the routine mechanics of reproduction produce the most dramatic of displays. Colorful inflorescences of bloom. The hills of Santiago in the Dominican Republic are home to the Villa Pancha, one of the most beautiful tropical gardens on earth.
The air here is so moist that some plants literally grow in the air. These tree-perching orchids do just that, soaring into the sky as if they're too light and too fine to be rooted to the earth.
Finding their moisture and nourishment from the air and rain, most orchids are epiphytes, from the Greek epi, upon, and phyton, a plant, upon a plant. By growing in trees in their natural environment, orchids are lifted to heights where they can be surrounded by light and moisture above the tangled mass of plants that live on the forest floor. High above, in the canopy of trees, though there is no soil, the sheer volume of vegetation provides orchids with all the elements they need to grow.
There are some 35,000 wild species and thousands of registered hybrid orchids, the largest family of flowering plants known to man.
The widely cultivated Oncidium orchid, native to Mexico, Central and South America, is known as the dancing doll orchid, a name inspired by the clusters of beautiful yellow flowers. Orchids share one uncompromising virtue, no matter where they are cultivated. They honor their origins and reflect them to every hothouse or garden where they grow.
These Vanda orchids were imported and planted 35 years ago. Yet here, they look as much at home as any other plant native to this environment.
From the wild, into cultivation, into the garden. The great legacy of extraordinary orchid flower shapes, colors and markings was nature's lure to sometimes one-of-a-kind specious pollinators in a variety of unique habitats. Nature's giant greenhouse circles the globe, framed by the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, holding within it the greatest abundance of plant species on Earth. These verdant, fertile areas of wildness, isolated from one another by vast expanses of ocean and topography, evolved over millions of years. The distinct variations of situation and climate combine to create an unrivaled diversity of plant and animal species. Old World tropics, New World tropics. Hundreds of years ago, discovery of nature's exotic virgin bounty led to great plant expeditions and plant exchanges throughout the world. The lure of the tropics began. And this led to the creation of tropical botanical gardens, still of importance today. Kebun Raya at Bogor on Java is one of the oldest of Asia's botanical gardens. Like other early 19th century gardens, Kebun Raya's primary purpose was economic, to test and develop the newly discovered tropical plants, such as rubber, coffee, cocoa, for commercial use. One of Kebun Raya's most dramatic features is the grand avenue of majestic canarium trees, which soar to great heights, draped with epiphytes, ferns, and gigantic tropical climbing aroids. Great variations of elevation and rainfall within the tropics create microclimates that become the most defining characteristics of a plant's habitat. Just above Bogor, at an elevation of 4,500 feet, is Chabodas, an extension of the Kebun Raya garden for plants that prefer cooler weather. The valleys of Chabodas are filled with native and exotic ferns that spill over and soften the formal lines of the main garden layout. Today, one of the most important roles of botanical gardens is the care and conservation of rare and endangered plant species. On the Hawaiian island of Oahu, in the back of the Manoa Valley, is a garden of serene and tranquil beauty, the Lion Arboretum, founded in 1918 by the Hawaiian Sugar Planters Association to grow trees for reforestation on the denuded watersheds of Hawaii. With generous annual rainfall, and elevations that climb above 1,800 feet, once barren cow pastures have been restored over decades of planning and planting to form an excellent array of specialty gardens, with over 8,000 plants from all parts of the world. The Arboretum's lowland tropical rainforest, jungled by man 75 years ago with plants that thrive together, is now coming into its own. Leaf shapes and surfaces draw moisture from the air, yet quickly release water from heavy rains. Many of the plants growing on the forest floor are best known in temperate climates as reliable, easy-to-grow houseplants. For the gardener and the nature lover, every corner of this jungle is a living illustration of how plants grow and depend on one another, revealing the true workings of a fertile environment, whether in a forest or in a home garden. Here, dendrobiums, moss and staghorn ferns reach for the light and flourish in and upon the trees, while beautiful flowering plants fill the garden floor. Bird of paradise. Parrots speak heliconia. Heliconias are prized ornamentals in a tropical garden, natives of the Caribbean and tropical America. The inflorescence is made up of a stalk, either upright or hanging, holding a series of striking colored bracts, within which are their true, often inconspicuous flowers.
The magic of the tropics, where flowers look like birds and birds look like flowers. Tropical gardens have a rich cultural history. These dendrobiums are perfectly at home here in the Caribbean, but they were transplanted from Thailand. More than 100 years ago, a talented and courageous Englishwoman named Marion North brought her paints and drawing paper to Jamaica and captured this rich, ever-changing heritage.
Her painting from Jamaica of the beautiful shell ginger, native to India and Burma, captures precisely the porcelain-like texture of the drooping cluster of ginger shell buds and the vibrant yellow ruffle of the flowers. The leaves of the plant, used as wrappers for foodstuffs, alternate up long stalks that are often as tall as 12 feet. At a time when her compatriots in England were marveling at the new lush exotics in great hothouses under glass, Marion North's journeys to Brazil, India, Ceylon, Borneo and Java provided a window onto new worlds through illustrations of exotic plant life. Many of the plants she painted were barely known at the time, either botanically or horticulturally. Many of the most well-known today were already prospering in lands far from their original habitats. Some were widespread in their species form, such as the giant white bird of paradise tree from South Africa. Others would come to play a role in the culture as well as the landscape in their new homes. The plumeria from tropical America is a sacred temple flower in India. Marianne North's painting from Singapore of butterflies and breadfruit is one of 832 botanical paintings in the Marianne North Gallery at Kew Gardens. Though she most often found nature in a relatively pristine state, the indifference of civilization was already making its imprint in her time. She wrote, "To think of man wasting treasures in a few years, to which savages and animals had done no harm for centuries." Perhaps no contemporary botanical artist has been more influential than Britain's Margaret Mee. Her plant watercolor portraits tell a poignant story to the world of vanishing beauty in the Amazon rainforest. Over 3 decades in Brazil, she completed 15 epic journeys on the Amazon. With her brush, she could capture the special beauty of a single species and celebrate the interdependence of flora and fauna, as in this painting of what has become the symbol of the vulnerable region called Amazonia. While Margaret Mee was establishing an unforgettable record in her botanical paintings, the place of Brazilian plants in the garden was being redefined by Brazil's great plantsman and landscape designer Roberto Burle Marx. Roberto believed the plant is not only a plant, rare, unusual, ordinary, or doomed to disappearance, but it is also a color, a shape, a volume, or an arabesque in itself. Plants exist not only for material reasons, but also because they depict the life of nature and the light, sounds, and perfumes that stir our emotions.
The beauty of the tropical garden is that everything grows with such profusion, energy and speed. A gardener's dream. This loveliness at Villa Pancha in the Dominican Republic looks as if only nature created it. Yet these red-torched ginger were brought here from their native habitat in the South Pacific, not by the romantic trade winds, but by the knowing, loving hands of its owners, the Tavares family.
Villa Pancha has been created by 2 generations of the Tavares family. Here, Gustavo Tavares.
I've always been surrounded by gardens and in touch with nature. And I have lived here for a little over 65 years. The garden just grew around the house. I think the design is especially simple, in spite of the great mixture of different plants, the big trees, and I guess that is what gives it what you call elegance.
Tropics, the house and its garden are in striking harmony, providing protection against the intense heat of the day. The garden inviting one outside to its lush green shade. The cool of the house wide open, letting the outside in.
The house surrounds an open courtyard overflowing with foliage plants and flowers. The central courtyard design is a common arrangement in the tropics, designed to increase the natural light and air circulation in the house. At Villa Pancha, the courtyard and vine-covered patios and verandas serve to create a wonderful series of outdoor rooms, framed by near and distant views of the garden. And orchids are everywhere. The Phalaenopsis is widely cultivated for its graceful, long-lasting flowers. The name means resembling a moth. Epiphytic in the wild, the moth orchid is native to tropical Asia. The spidery Arachnis is a revered genus of orchid. In the wild, the draping display of its root growth is often as dramatic as the flower. Indonesia's natural botanical wealth is evident everywhere on Java. And today, its legacy promises to grow with a brand new garden, Taman Bunga Nusantara. The floating flowers of water gardens around the world have their origins in the tropics. The richly textured Coleus was first brought to the west from Java in 1853. Here, at water's edge, thriving en masse, Coleus display the generous nature of their distinctive foliage as a complement to other plants in the garden. The sacred lotus flower is rooted in the earth, but its majestic blossom flowers only after having traversed the water. Immortalized in paintings for centuries, the lotus is often seen growing alone or in colonies in the ponds and water gardens throughout tropical Asia. Discovery in the 1830s of the giant Amazonian water lily caused nothing short of a sensation in Europe. Temperate gardeners went to great lengths to provide the special conditions necessary for these new exotics to survive in captivity. Conservatories bloomed. In the mid-19th century, George Lawson noted in his book, The Royal Water Lily, "It is avowedly one of the great objects of exotic gardening to present to the eye vivid pictures of nature, as she is exhibited in the gorgeous vegetation of tropical lands."
This great garden, known as the Earth, has one verdant path circling its middle, the tropical belt, one of nature's greatest gifts.
The Hawaiian Islands, born of the sea, have a unique plant heritage. Native species, evolved from plants that once came by bird, wind or sea, share the stage with tropical beauties brought later by human travelers. The Waimea Arboretum and Botanical Garden honors this heritage, presenting plants by islands, families, genera, and geography. The ginger family contains a large group of tropical herbs. White ginger is the most romantic of all the gingers, prized for its delicate blooms and enchanting fragrance. The Malay ginger is actually a costus. Here, a specimen of the costus plant displays inflorescences in many stages. The peach-colored flowers and the green bracts grow ever upwards into a long, erect cone. After flowering, each of the green bracts turns red until the entire technicolor head droops in brilliant display. Nestled in the Waimea Valley on the north shore of Oahu, within a series of winding paths and dells, the garden is home to 36 different plant collections. From rare and endangered species to celebrated and historic hybrids, including several important hibiscus collections. Conservation through cultivation. The Waimea Arboretum and Botanical Garden is one of 9 botanical gardens in the Hawaiian Islands, This portfolio of gardens provides a diverse range of benign microclimates, ideal for the care and protection of Hawaii's and the world's tropical plants. Only a few miles away, on the windward side of the island, is Ho'omaluhia, meaning peaceful refuge. In a spectacular setting at the foot of the Ko'olau mountain range, plants from major tropical regions around the world are grouped geographically, including the lofty African tulip tree from East Africa, the graceful yellow cassia from Malaysia is laden with gentle hanging clusters of lemon-colored blossoms in the shelter of the tree's lush leaves. But in the tropics, it's not just the flower that's of interest in a garden. Exotic displays of bracts and seeds, magical inflorescences on palms. Some look like sprays of filament, others exuberant frizzled pom-poms, or a multicolored beaded curtain, or the bounteous mature fruit of the golden coconut. Nature's drama in the tropics, at once bigger than life, wilder than the imagination. The aptly named cannonball tree brings an almost primal, transcendent wildness to all who encounter it in its home in the heart of Honolulu in the Foster Botanical Garden. Roberto Burle Marx would be pleased. Cities can use the richness and range of nature, he has proclaimed. The cannonball's mysterious flowers grow on short, vining branches directly on the main trunk of the tree. The garden has many specimen and exceptional trees, nature's skyscrapers. Its prehistoric glen presents a comprehensive collection of cycads, primordial plants from the Coal Age, the rich inheritance of their fossils, the resource for our fuels. The garden makes a convincing statement. Plants are more than just the present. They are the past and the future. Begun as a private garden in the mid-19th century, the Foster Garden continues in the best tradition of the world's great botanical gardens. Artful presentation within a strong scientific foundation. The garden has an excellent collection of Vanda and other species orchids, as well as distinctive hybrids representing many orchid varieties. The orchid is a hybridizer's dream. Intergenera crosses produce whole new breeds. Some of the largest and most beautiful hybrids in the Cattleya strain are from crosses with the Brassavolia and the Laelia orchids, producing prized blooms with a wide range of color and markings. So often seen only as individual plants in temperate climates, the orchid tribes are a symphony of beauty when seen in concert with one another.
Like no other flower, the orchid conjures up the mysterious, exotic image of the tropics, because only here can it grow naturally. Even when raised at great expense in hothouses and cold climates, the orchid's fragile, wild, almost animal beauty still transports our imagination to the heat of these faraway lands.
Always had a weakness for white flowers, not only in the garden, but in arrangements. I have always dreamt of a white garden.
The principles for creating a beautiful garden, in harmony with its climate and culture, are the same the world over. The variant of ingredients, at once unique and universal, plant color, texture, form. There is perhaps no more vivid expression of the enduring need for nature and her abundance than a tropical garden. The earth, forevermore a garden, humankind, forevermore her gardeners.
At night, nature in the tropics is as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than it is by day. Like the night-blooming jasmine, there are many flowers that open as the sun goes down and fill the night with their sweet, heavy perfume, luminescent in the light of the moon. Crickets, geckos, and other creatures soothe you with their sounds till dawn, when another day breaks in paradise.